Welcome to CanOpus Chats, stories worth
Thank
sharing.
you.
And in this episode, we are going to listen to the attorney talks about her role, her professional role in the legal industry. Julian Fairweather, welcome to CanOpus Chats. How are you
Thank
today?
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak life into real estate law.
Awesome. And I think that you are a perfect person to do this, seeing that you've been in the industry for more than 2 decades, actually. But I don't know how that's possible because you still look like you're 21. So you started when you were about, I don't know, some serious prodigy age here. So I would like to know what motivated you to get started in this industry?
Well, when I was younger, um, my mother had taken me with her when we had acquired our first family home. And I remember my mom asking some amazing questions that, the attorney at the time, he kind of brushed it off and made jokes. Like, for example, one of her questions was, what's an ARM? She was asking about the product, the mortgage product that they were getting. And the attorney laughed and he was like, you're going to have to pay an arm and a leg if you don't pay the money when it's due.
Wow.
Oh, I was like, okay, the joke, but now what's the answer?
Right.
And, my mom never got the answer. And there were certain things that she looked, like she didn't really understand. And at that moment, I made a conscious effort to go find out what the answers to these questions were. And not just that, but historically, we were said to be chattel or property. So I want to be able to raise an awareness in my community as to what people that were once considered property but are now acquiring property, what makes that transition such that it can generate into legacy income, legacy assets, and not just acquiring, because it's easy to obtain, but it's hard to maintain. So unless you have somebody to guide you in that, you're at a loss.
So your vision for entering the field of legal and real estate law was to uplift the community and to provide the answers that your mom did not receive when she asked that.
Yeah, that I felt she didn't adequately get reception on. Yes.
Right. So your overall vision, describe your overall vision when you started then, and how has it either aligned itself today to what you envisioned back then and where you are now?
Well, my my law firm, my law practice, like myself, is an energy. And the people that come to me with whatever their real estate endeavor or issue might be, they also come with a certain energy. And oftentimes it's an energy of confusion, anxiety, and maybe fear. And what is fear? But false evidence appearing real. So you might think that you're not able to pursue the home that you're trying to go after, but there's probably ways that you can acquire it. And so I'm not just a real estate attorney, I'm a counselor at law. I take that very seriously. So I would say that's where my vision, my goal, and my purpose in this industry comes to play, in that I'm helping to eradicate the fear behind acquisition, maintaining, and legacy.
And I think, that is important because what you're talking about here is intentionality. And you're saying that your business is serious, and it's important not only to you, but it's also important to the people that you're serving. And I like that word that you use, being a counselor, because you've described so many emotions that buyers come into your office with, and to be able to have the temperament, I believe, and the know-it-all to share information with them that's going to propel them from being maybe a renter to a home owner. I think that's important, and to be able to to care about them, I think that is salient to have that in your representation and you representing that for them. Now, here you are investing in your community and helping families procure part of the American dream. Talk to me a little bit about how you went about actualizing your dream of becoming that counselor at law.
Faith, first of all and foremost, faith in the belief that I can, and then coupled with the determination that I will, right? And determination is action. So, faith and work combined to propel me based on my desire to make a difference and an impact in my community. Being a part of the talented 10th, first generation in my family, to achieve on a level of, not just being a migrant, because I'm first generation from a migrant, who first generation into the higher educational part of it, such that I could even transcend that into my lineage that I bring forth to my son, right? I would have to say that because I had a goal in mind, that goal propelled me and motivated me to make sure that within my 5-year plan, because every 5 years for me is supposed to be a new level.
Right.
Because I believe that God does everything in our lives based on a pattern, but the underlying foundation is by principles, right? And so there's certain principles and standards that I've set for myself that some would say is a discipline that enabled me to not just obtain my degree or obtain a law practice, but also maintain it, and maintain it in such a way that I have a legacy of clients that refer me, not just within their own communities and families, but outside anytime they have an opportunity to do so.
And I think that's very important. So you're talking about building relationships that goes beyond one transaction. So you're talking about a community of people who are pleased with what it is and the services that you offer, that they're able they're able to vouch for you and say, here's someone whom I'd like you to work with because I'm pleased with the work that she did for me and how she helped me. And I think we talk about consumption, and when we look at in the online world, it's for written feedback, that when you visited some place, that people, when you go to a restaurant, is based on the reviews that you read on Yelp.
Or vacation, absolutely.
All of those things. So we're talking about collaborative consumption, and so here it is, the word of mouth is still pertinent in you growing your business and offering your service to a wider array of people. I wanted to follow up a little bit on the principle. I want you to just give me a glimpse, if you may, of what does it mean to be principle-minded or driven?
Principle-minded or driven. See, so I see how this interview is going, ladies and gentlemen. Be careful what you say. It may be used by the host against you. Okay, so
it will be used for you. All
right. Principles. All right. The principles are disciplines.
Right.
So, and there's no greater opportunity to see how disciplined you as a professional are than when you're forced to shelter in place due to a statewide shelter pause order
initiative. Yeah.
Whenever I've had an opportunity to work from home, I've always had my office hours remain the same. So 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Whether or not you happen to know that I'm working from home, or you know that my personal cell phone number, whatever it is that may give you access that the ordinary client wouldn't have. And those disciplines will lead to satisfaction overall, because if a client is calling you at 10 p.m. about a matter that you will not have a response to until 10 a.m., the frustration and the anxiety only builds.
Right.
I'm going to make sure that my office hours remain my office hours, so that not only do I discipline myself, I guide my client's transaction to a most satisfactory end. Right? So you'll always feel that I've always responded to you in a timely manner, and I've responded to you with quality information, not just, I'm going to have to get back to you in the morning.
Right. Okay. And I think, it's important to set those parameters, because I know that everyone is being thrust into mobile and online. Everything is online now. So
whether you like it or not. And
it's just our new normal. And it is important to figure out what works best. And when your intent is to give your clients your best service, you recognize that after hours, it's not going to be as the ideal way of conducting businesses. And so to eliminate frustration, you have now said, you know what, let us work within this time frame where I'm able to better serve you. And I think that's important, because it's not only good for you, but it's also good for them, so that when you get back to them, as you said, providing the information that they need. And I think
they will feel satisfied.
So here we are now talking about transitioning into the online world and conducting businesses in this medium. Talk to me a little bit about the legal field. How has it changed since you started over 2 decades ago to now working in this 21st century, if you may, and technology being involved? What does law look like?
Well, there you go again, Miss Price. Just all encompassing in the brief segment we have here, but I'm going to try and answer as best as I can.
I think you got this. Go ahead.
As a matter of fact, let me see. Real estate law has actually, since the market crashed in 2007, 2008, it has been the more that it's changed, the more it's remained the same, in that in states like mine, where New York State, where there's a wet signing document requirement, they're still making advancements in that a lot of it has also become transactional.
Okay.
But I should say that even though they've adapted, they've also changed certain forms and documents over my almost, more than 2 decades here of doing this practice, at least in the mortgage industry part of the real estate law, where they gave the borrower 3 days to make a firm decision based on the fees, the good faith estimate they received. And then after those 3 days, then you're able to schedule the appointment. But now they're allowing the borrower to sign that by e-signature, where before you would have to wait for them to mail a physical mortgage package to your home, and then you fill it out and sign it, mail it back. They cut those days out by making it so e-signing is a form that pushes the documents to the closing segment of the almost like it's on a conveyor belt. So it's now in the closing department faster than it would be waiting for snail mail.
Okay, so in terms of expediting the process, technology has helped immensely. Now, we have different abilities in terms of technology use. Based on what you've seen with your clientele, is it working? Does it actually work? Do people become frustrated because they weren't familiar with the process, or did they transition smoothly? I know that
some of my older clients, they're a little, you could tell there's a little, annoyance to it. But even then, my energy, my personality, I still use that as a talent that I have to kind of make them a little bit more comfortable and get them, ease them with laughter. I'll say, man, your house is clean. I like how everything looks. You sure you want to move? They'll do like you're doing, and they'll do a little laughter, and then we'll, go forward. They'll get grandchildren and sons and daughters or whoever. Help me set up. I have a meeting with the lawyer.
Okay. And that's good. So you're talking about the community and being a part of a collective group of people, so that maybe if those who are in the baby boomer generation might not be as technologically savvy, they can rely on the other groups, or the Gen X or the millennials, and the what they call them.
And those clients that I really can't do it that way with, you know, I'll make accommodations to practice the shelter in place and the social distancing to get the job done. So every client, even though home buying on a macro sense is the same, you're buying in the same procedural and practice way that you buy every home, but each home purchase is subjective in that everybody has a different path that they have to get through that process. And, you know, be it your financial or your neighborhood that you're looking at. So, you know, at the end of the day, I would say that e-commerce exists even in real estate law. Okay. When the shelter in place happened and realtors were not allowed by law, by that order, to show open houses or to even go in and take on a new listing, virtual showings came popular. You know, you had realtors showing their homes that way, appraisers appraising and having, you know, getting the appraisal through commerce as opposed to, or electronically, opposed to actually physically going down there. So anything to keep the cog in the wheel still spinning.
And that's awesome. So here's what I'm going to ask you. And while you are including all of the legal requirements to conduct the business within the confined or the stipulated agreements right now, sometimes home buyers are concerned about going into a home, especially now as a new person. So what would you say to that individual? Is there, for example, in the car industry, I know that they ionize the vehicles before you go in. Is there something in place that they do in the home, on the real estate side, if a new buyer is procuring a home, especially during COVID?
Well, I can't speak for every real estate brokerage, but I know that the real estate brokerages that I'm associated with, and you know, either through referrals or through actually being a part of it myself, but you know, to be distinguished, when I am a realtor, I'm not a real estate attorney. And when I'm a real estate attorney, I am not the realtor. So you're by law, you're only allowed to wear one hat at a time.
Right, okay.
But when it comes to those spaces, those communal types of spaces, there's a cleaning service after every day's transaction. While there, any space that you enter into has their hand sanitizers ready. You cannot enter without a mask. It's a total definitive and practice, procedures in place. No one is going in just willy-nilly into any, even for themselves as home buyers. You know, the home owners also, they're having a bunch of people walk through. It becomes a thing of, and the difficult part, and usually where you'll see a virtual showing, is if there is someone who is highly susceptible in that home to begin with, then the house can only be shown by virtual showing.
Right. Okay. And you know, we're talking about adaptability, and that's what most of us, we are being tested on how pliable we are. And I think
we are.
I really think so. Here we are Zooming and having a virtual meeting, and conducting transactions and still trying to stay afloat. We know that the economic prospects sometimes look bleak. And if we continue to read the Wall Street Journal or any of the Financial Times, we can see major concern. We see how the Dow Jones dropped, we see the NASDAQ, and all of those financial reports. So just to be able, as a business owner, to really carve out a path that you can take safely and still keep your business and maintain your business in this time, I think that is definitely commendable. I do have a few more questions for you. I thank you so far. I think you're amazing. So here you are working, it's 2020, and You are doing a fantastic job reaching out to the community, and you are doing it with such joy. I like that. But amidst the triumphs, there has to have been some defeats. I want you to tell me a little bit about the defeats that you have experienced in your journey as a counselor of law, and how did you overcome?
I would say that my greatest accomplishment. Now let's start with the bad news first, right? Let's start with the bad news first, so that I lead out with a good ending. My greatest defeat came about. I wouldn't even call it. See, when you ask that question, I'm hesitant. I'm probably stumbling like this because I'm going to honestly say that even
let's use setback.
Right, because for me, every setback is a platform for a step up. Right. It's not like a setback is supposed to keep me back, you know? So I was trying to answer the question within the parameters you had set.
Right. So it's all about perception and how we interpret. So it was designed to defeat you, but the way that you addressed it and approached it and how you came out says that I am an overcomer. I'm a winner. So I'm not defeated. So go on.
Right. So like I was saying, so then I would say that my greatest defeat or setback came when the mortgage crisis happened. Like I said earlier, it became a thing of where you had to downsize. You had to decide, well, how are you going to still meet the needs of your client base, because now your client base has changed. Right. Because where I once had a catalog of business clients and a catalog of lender clients, those lenders went out of business, the business clients went out of business. And so it became a thing of now, well, how do I redirect my skills and my abilities to meet the needs of my community? And during that time, my client base changed from profitable people coming to get a lawyer to either buy or sell their property with, to some homeowners that are in trouble, that want to either restructure their loan, find a way to sell their asset with the minimum loss, or maybe just do a deed transfer because of the death or a restructuring of their trust, their family trust. So all of those things became a need-based thing that served to not just, it's a bad time, but that bad time led that person's pain became my purpose in that moment. So it became a thing of where I was going to help my community that worked hard for, you have a lot of I had a lot of West Indian clients, and their home is their pride and joy. Why is their pride and joy? Because they worked so hard to get something to leave for their children in their minds. So how can I help this client maintain what they've obtained after years of hard work? That's right. And my practice became a thing of where I saved majority of the people's homes that came to me, and those that because of circumstances that did not look at that time like they could maintain it, we together, right, lawyer and client, came up with plans that came out to their best benefit, such that my greatest accomplishments comes out of that, their defeat or seeming defeat. Right. Because coming to me help them to overcome it. As I'm overcoming the challenges in my industry, I was being, in my opinion, I'm going to exalt myself a little bit, a sojourner truth of the real estate right, practice, and helping them to overcome what was seemingly a challenge to them. And out of that came my greatest accomplishments, in that I became known as the community attorney. J and Fairweather and Associates PC, they can help you. And I always have to tell them the J and Fairweather and Associates PC does not stand for Jesus. That's Julian. I cannot turn water to wine. Some of the cases that they've been referring to me, it's like, Julian will fix it. No, I do not make guarantees like that. But honestly, I'm blessed and honored to know that majority of the time when a client comes to me with an issue, they come to me with the issue alone and they leave with an answer with us coming to it together.
Nice. You see, I think that's important, and I'm glad that you said it, because our mindset determines how we address the different challenges that come our way. And
Right.
2008 crash, affected all of us in different ways. But here it is, as a business owner, you didn't cower or succumb to the impact.
I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? Let me look it up on Google.
You used it as a stepping stool to redesign your practice, and then to re-empower and establish the community, where you as a person is now able to partner with them, and for them to look to you as an advocate, someone that they can actually trust, and
a counselor at law.
Counselor at law. And that leads me, Julian, to our next question about your impact in the community. And I know that you serve not only as a counsel of law, but there are different things that you do to contribute to the community. And I want you just to elaborate a little bit more about that. How have you expanded your borders within the community?
Well, I'm a proud member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. When I entered that organization as an undergraduate, one of the things that drew me to it was, of course, the sisterhood, because I am such a my personality is such that I always automatically think everybody's my friend, whether they're my friend or not. So that's number one. And this sisterhood of women, I noticed that they were volunteering their skills, ability, and time to meet their community's needs where they find them. And that's me. That's who I am. I see myself as someone that is a talented 10th person. And as a talented 10th person, to me, if I'm looking at a number, everything in my life for me is grace. My mother's name was Grace. The number 5 means grace. So, a talented 10th to me is somebody that is a 10th for me is one person that had double grace. Because 2 5s make 10. Right? So that person takes that double portion of that grace, and they're blessed to be a blessing. And within that blessing comes solutions and answers that help to meet your community's needs where you find them. Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and I'm a part of the graduate chapter, Phi Zeta chapter in Queens. We go out, we've distributed, PPE materials and all the necessary things that we can to, support our essential workers. We've just consistent in our endeavors to meet the youth needs, meet the community's needs. And I'm one person with one idea. Here it is, a national body that has the same goals, or some of the same goals and ideas that I do. And that's to empower our community, to help minorities, to recognize their assets that are available to them, that they may not have known about, but for their socioeconomic standing, but for their educational level, we are the gap for the but for. And that to me is what I am in my practice, in that organization, and in my personal life. My friendships are the same way. Where I can meet a friend in need is a friend indeed. If I can be a portion of that statement, that means that I'm either on the receiving side of it, or I'm on the giving side of it. But as I'm giving, I'm still receiving the joy or the benefit of knowing that my friend is okay.
That's right. I think that's the essence of community, right? To know that you are of the caring majority. You are
absolutely
not just for yourself, but for others. And a word that you used at the beginning of the interview was building legacy. And a person doesn't build legacy by him or herself. It has to be done through the group. You might have the idea, the vision, but for it to be actualized, it has to go through
Come from a
channels.
base of community.
Yes, and
Come
so
from a base of referral. Come from a base of,
well,
they're talking about black buying black now is a big thing. Why is it a big thing? Because I would hope that the collective mindset right now is that we want to get back what we had when we had Black Wall Street. We had our own. We were able to provide for ourselves such that I think if a shelter in place had happened during Black Wall Street would have been okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because when we talk about Black Wall Street and what they accomplished, I'm thinking about Marcus Garvey and, the fact that he started a manufacturing company. He had Business Corp.
Exactly.
He got the first steamship line that was Black owned. And there are many, and these are all in the 1920s as well. So, we have a strong history of beginnings. And I think here it is, we're being infused with another, based on a series of events that have transpired, we've been infused with the blood, if you may, of those who have gone on to say that this is a time for us to get back and to reestablish the empire. And I think this is amazing. So, Julian, I really enjoyed hearing about the work that you started, your commitment to excellence and serving the community. As we wrap up our segment here at CanOpus Chats, if you had to do a mini commercial, 30 seconds or less, about your business, what would that look like?
Oh, wow. We get to the humbling part of my segment. Okay, here we go.
No, go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the counsel at law you've all been waiting for. Do you have anxiety about the purchase of your first home? Have you had restless and or sleepless nights because of a real estate concern? I mean, for example, your mortgage refinance, a deed transfer that you're not sure that you can do, and just wish that you had a real estate law professional with plain English that can guide and help you navigate those fears? How about setting up a family trust? Or maybe even establishing a real estate holding corporation? Well, look no more. Look no further. For you are indeed truly blessed and highly favored. If you're listening to this ad, then we know the person and company just for you. Julian Fairweather and her congenial staff at JN Fairweather Associates PC are dedicated to satisfying our clients with the attention and care we give to our clients. Our courteous staff of professionals and their reliability and highly qualified knowledge in this field, you will not just be satisfied, you will be overwhelmed and overjoyed to the point that you got to run, tell, or phone somebody. See you soon at JN Fairweather Associates PC.
Woo, that is awesome. Thank you, Julian and Fairweather. That was a powerful commercial that encompasses many facets that your average homeowner or someone who is pursuing something in real estate law would need your services. I had such a wonderful time speaking with you here at CanOpus Chats. Stories worth sharing. And I'm looking forward to sharing your stories with many, because I think you're doing
tell somebody.
Tell somebody. Absolutely, we'll definitely do that. Julian, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.